Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Good. I'd like to thank everybody for taking a moment of their busy schedules to come out and join us tonight. This is definitely a momentous occasion, something we look forward to celebrating every year, and this is one of the events that we have really looked forward to more than any other, simply because this is one of the largest groups, if not the largest groups we have ever recognized in the past in the history of Union EMS. We've had a very large number of successful resuscitations this year, something that we're all proud of, something that gives every one of those patients a moment, an opportunity to spend with their families, just as it gives the families a moment to spend some more time with the patients as well. Union EMS began back in 1985. That year saw the very first call that we responded to a cardiac arrest patient. So if you're going to start an EMS service, having a cardiac arrest as your very first call is right out of the gate probably the most substantial call you can have. That sort of sets the course for everything you do. Unfortunately, that patient did not survive then, which was not uncommon for that time. Up until around 2013, it was not uncommon for us to see lower single-digit survivors each year. It was just something we did not see. We were averaging anywhere from 2, 3, sometimes maybe 4, and in many years, no survivors whatsoever. And that has nothing to do with Union EMS. That has to do with EMS in general. That's just the way it was back then. Through research, through studies, and through learning about what we were doing and what we were doing right, as well as what we were doing wrong, we, along with many other agencies across the nation, came together and started what's called Choreography CPR. Basically, everybody there has a part in the play, if you will. They know what they're doing. They know what they're responsible for. This kicked off in 2013. After 2013, a full year in hand, we looked back and we had, I got some numbers, but it was in the double digits of cardiac arrest survivors. So that year, we knew we were doing something right. Since then, that number has steadily climbed each and every year. So for us to go from anywhere from 0 up to no more than 4 or 5 cardiac arrest survivors in 1 year, up to seeing anywhere from 30 to 35 in 1 year, that's something you look at each and every one here and give a round of applause for. So, thank you for everything you do. Many times I look forward to an opportunity to tell everybody, thank you for what you do, thank you for your dedication to the service, and thank you for what you put into it. This is not a hobby. This is not a pastime. This is a profession. This is something that everyone in this room here who is a responder can honestly say they've dedicated their life to. Many times in the cold, in the rain, as well as the sunshine and the vacations, you've left your family behind to take care of these patients, to take care of the cardiac arrest victims that we cared for. That says a lot about you. That says a lot about your determination and what you do. Before we go any further, I'm going to leave you with a few numbers. If you will, I want to make sure I get this right, so I've wrote them down. In the United States, let me back up. In 2019, we had 168 cardiac arrests with 58 return of spontaneous circulations. That's a large number. Of those, we had 35 return to an active lifestyle, complete survivability. Those are the ones who, if the nurse let them, walk out of the hospital. The only reason they didn't walk out of the hospital is because they were wheeled out in a wheelchair till they got to their car. That's something to be said. That's something to be very proud of. Over the past year, 6 years actually, that equates to, of all the cardiac arrests we've had, an average of 1 of 3 in Union County getting a pulse back. So that has increased. Every cardiac arrest over the last 6 years, 1 of 3 of those cardiac arrests gets a pulse back at some point. We measure this by what's called the Epstein criteria. Epstein criteria sets forth a set of guidelines that we measure these patients for. In order to know you're doing a good job, in order to know you're doing things right, you got to have a way to measure it. And once you measure it and you know what you're doing right, you can improve upon it. And that's what we have been trying our best to do. Using this same criteria, it's used nationwide. Everybody is on the same page to use the same criteria. Nationwide, on average, 1 of 10, almost 1 of 10, or actually 11% of all cardiac arrests survive. Think about that for a minute. Only 1 out of 10 nationally. In Union County, I'm very proud to say that 42% of all patients who fall into this criteria survive. That's something to be said. That's one of the highest numbers anywhere in the nation. I'm very proud of that number, and my goal is to not repeat that number, but continually see that number grow. It has successfully grown over the past few years since we started this program, and I can't wait to see it grow. I can't wait to see what next year is, and the next year, and the next year following that. Very proud of that. One thing I always tell our team over and over again is we respond to approximately 30,000 calls for service each and every year. And I tell everyone that's 30,000 opportunities to make a difference in somebody's life, be it a stumped toe, be it a broken finger, or be it a cardiac arrest. And this is a perfect example of taking to the extreme how we make a difference in somebody's life.